here we have the diagram of the carbon cycle, and I listed here the vocabulary words that were used for this cycle, then what is consumed, what's produced, and just some facts that we need to know towards the bottom to help us as we're going along, just so there's no confusion in the numbers and stuff like that. And then at the very bottom I have the actual equation for what's going on. So in the carbon cycle, we start off and we have 3 molecules of the carbon dioxide. That's what we're starting off with. And so I just keep track of everything by just doing like 1 carbon, 3, stuff like that, and they're in bold along the way, just so that we can keep track of everything. So we start off and we have 3 carbon dioxide molecules, and that starts off our carbon fixation, which is thanks to the rubisco, which is the catalyst to start everything off. And then that leads to us having 6 of the 3 phosphoglycerates, and we're still at that 3 carbon at this point. Then as a reaction goes, as the cycle continues, we have 6 our ATP that converts to 6 ADP, and that's our energy that's happening. And then we're at this part, we're at the reduction phase of the cycle, and we still are at 6 times, but now we're at 3 biphosphoglycerates, and we're still at that 3 carbon. And then our energy stuff starts happening again, where our 6 NADPH then changes into 6 NADP plus, and then the 6P. And then as it continues, we have 6 times the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and at this point we're still at that 3 carbon. And then as the reduction phase ends, we actually we lose a molecule of the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. It leaves the cycle. And when it leaves the cycle, then now we're down to 5 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, but we're still at that 3 carbon. And then two of the P's come out. And then now we finally change from our consistent 3C to 5 of the carbon. And at this point we're at the 3 times the ribulose 5-phosphate, so the RUP. And then as this continues and we're in that regeneration cycle where we're trying to get back to the beginnings, then we have 3 ATP. Our energy starts happening again. We have 3 ATP, then it's changed to a 3 ADP, so it's kind of the inverse of what's happening on this side. And then it leads us to still having our 5C, but we have 3 times ribulose 5 biphosphate, so now we're at RUBP instead of RUP. And then as our regeneration part of the cycle ends, then we're kind of just starting over, and then it continues. So just some things to remember that I had to remind myself during mainly this section is that we have 3 phosphoglycerate that are produced for every 1 carbon dioxide that's entering the cycle. And that's why when we have this, we have 3 molecules of the carbon dioxide, that's why we have 6 of everything, 6 of the ATP, and 6 of the NADPH, and 6 of the biphosphoglycerate and phosphoglycerate. So, because at first when I was learning about this, I was kind of confused, but that makes sense. And then we have 2 NADPH produced for every 1 carbon dioxide. Kind of the same thing, which is why we have 6, since we have 3, because 3 times 2. And that's something that I had to remind myself. And then there's also one more thing, is that there's 2 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate that's produced for every 1 carbon dioxide, and that's why we have 6 during this reduction phase. But then when we lose 1 and 1 leaves the system, we're down to 5, and those 5 are used to regenerate this ribulose 5 biphosphate. And so this is just a reminder that we have 1 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate for every 3 carbon dioxides. So yeah, that's what's happening in the carbon cycle. And then the things that are consumed during the cycle are 6 molecules of ATP and 6 molecules of NADPH. And then what's produced during the cycle is that 1 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, as well as as well as glucose and sucrose and stuff like that. And then our vocabulary words, I'll just kind of get zoomed in on that. Those are just kind of all the things that are going into this. And then, just in summary for this section, the equation is here as follows. I kind of messed up a little bit, just ignore that. Alright, so that is for the Calvin cycle. Now we have our light reactions. So I just wanted to, I did kind of a big picture. This is the light reactions on this side, and this is the Calvin cycle. But I felt like we needed to have a big picture to understand fully everything, plus the fact that you list in the vocabulary words things like the thylakoid and thylakoid space, and I wouldn't be able to talk about that without having the whole kind of scene in front of us. So this gives us a better picture as to that this is all the thylakoid space is in it, and then we have our chloroplast here, we have our stroma, which is kind of like all in the background here, and then we have our granum, which is our light reactions part, and then we have light coming in to touching onto that. And then we have our Calvin cycle here, the carbon dioxide coming in, sucrose coming out, our starches, our amino fatty acids coming out, stuff like that. And then I just did a dashed line to show the difference, like that this is light reactions, this is Calvin. So with that being said, basically then what I did was I took this section and just expanded it here so that we can fully see what's happening with the photosystems and electron transport chains. So just to get a better picture, here we are. We have the thylakoid membrane, which are these. This is the head and the tails. Kind of look weird, but and then this is just the process of the photosystem 1, then leading to the electron transport chain. What's happening here in the photosystems 2. We have light, like photons of light that are coming in, and they're absorbed by the chlorophyll energy by the photon of light. And that photon of light splits our water, or H2O. So then we have these H ions that are split apart, right? So right here as it's displayed. And so then our H ions then reduce our NADP plus to our NADPH. And then chemiosis makes ATP from our ADP, and aka that's photophosphorylation. So as you can see, the whole the traveling that's going on right here comes up, goes through the electron transport chain, then it gets into our photosystems 2, and it kind of does kind of the same thing as photosystem 1, but this time instead of dealing with the whole water stuff and the splitting, oxidation, stuff like that, or induction, we're now like into the energy of NADP, stuff like that, and then releasing that. So light reactions are kind of just, it was kind of more of simple, straightforward. There's less to talk about, in my opinion. But then I just kind of showed like all the different energies that are going from Calvin to our light reactions. And then what's produced during the light reaction is ATP, O2, and NADPH, and our ATP and NADPH are our energies. And then what's reacting during our light reaction is obviously light, water, NADPH, and ADP plus PI. And then our vocabulary words that are discussed during the light reactions are as follows. And there you go.